that you're all doing good. Today is another Reddit Thursdays. However, today I'm going to be reading from the Today I Fucked Up Reddit thread instead. All the appropriate links and stuff will be in the description with the usernames of who these posts belong to. All credit goes to them. If you like the video, please do give it a like and comment down below if there's anything you'd like to see from me. And as always, subscribe if you haven't already. But let's just get into the video. Let's unlock the iPad. I forgot to charge my iPad actually. I just realized it's on 4%. So I've had to plug it in over here, which is a bit weird for me because I normally read from this side, but it's over here now. Anyway, the first one is by Girl. Okay, we've had to turn the lamp on instead. I forgot to also charge the LED light. The first one is by Girl and Two Cats, and it's titled Today I Fucked Up Getting drunk and puking inside my backpack. Oh boy, welcoming party when I started college, and teenage me goes drinking with the intention of getting wasted like never before. I drank so much that at the end I was seeing double, and my newly made friends had to drag walk me into the metro station. We got into the train and took out places to try and keep up. Okay, there's some errors, so bear with me. We got onto the train and took our places trying to keep it cool. The sun was already coming out and the wagon was full with people going to work. Then it happened. I began to feel like I was getting sick. Maybe it was the train movements that made me dizzy, I don't know. Embarrassed to make a mess, drunk me assumed the inside of my backpack was the least bad place to puke. I proceeded to unzip it and let flow a waterfall of what felt like a full gallon of vomit. Even though I was so drunk, I still remember the look of terror, pity and disgust of the woman in front of me every time I raised my head to take a break before going at it again. Finally, I got rid of all my alcohol, and the chips, and a hamburger, and my vegetables. I think I even puked my breakfast. I was feeling so much relief, then remembered my laptop and notebooks were inside the backpack. I got the laptop and the notebooks out, and they were dripping in vomit. In the process, I smeared puke all over the seat. My friend was sitting on my side, and I dropped him on his lap without even asking, covering him in vomit as well. The notebooks were of no use after that, but the laptop somehow survived. Worst of all, the backpack turned out to not be waterproof, and vomit began leaking through the bottom, and I was still so brainlessly drunk that I didn't feel it. So I was soaked in my own vomit by the time I got off the train. I was wearing a white summer dress that, well, was never white anymore. That is very unfortunate. I hate vomiting. Also, I should probably put a warning. Quite a few of these will probably be a bit gross. So yeah, if you are put off by that sort of thing, don't watch this video. The next one is by D3SS on. Today I effed up by eating Dodgy olives 4 hours before leaving for my flight home. writing this from the toilet. I was on holiday in Portugal for the last week and my Uber for airport leaves in about 20 minutes and it kind of stresses me out. The flight is only going to be 3 hours, so I hope it will be manageable. The olives have been open for a few days, but last night I thought it would be a waste to leave them here and a good idea to have them before going to bed. They were still delicious though. Second F-up was technically before and is worsening my real F-up. I was surfing on Tuesday and now I have some real muscle aches in my abdomen. Third F-up, I had some spicy Korean fried cauliflower last night as dinner and it really hurts. At least I got some meds from one of my friends to hopefully survive the flight. That does not sound like a fun flight. I wish that they had updated what had happened afterwards, if it went well or not. The next one is by Pointless Complaining, and it's titled Today I effed up by not checking a memory montage video I sent to family. I sent this video last weekend, I'm only realising the F up now. I went on a trip to ME with my family last year, mum, aunts, uncles, cousins from Ireland, my mother's age, and took lots of photos. It came up on my phone memories and I decided to post it in a family group chat. The problem is I live in a state where jazz cabbage is illegal, and it's legal in ME, so of course I had to get some for the sake of saying I smoked in ME. I took a selfie of me smoking a joint to send to a friend and forgot to delete the photo, so of course it pops up in the middle of the video. I'm the only one of the group that has ever smoked. They're all conservative Catholics. At least that's not too bad. I mean, they'll be kind of annoyed or angry for a little while, but I thought it was going to be something worse, like a nude photo or something. Okay, this one is by Rugby Player 96, and it's Today I effed up by misidentifying my date. So this actually happened yesterday evening, but before the F-up is explained, I need to provide the backstory. Basically, I matched with a girl on a dating app a few weeks ago and we got on really well. And slowly but surely the conversation got a bit more flirty and then it started turning sexual. And by the time we agreed to meet up for a date, it seemed to be a case that sex was a strong possibility if everything went well during the date. The date was planned for yesterday evening, and when I saw her in the distance with her back turned to me waiting at the agreed upon meeting point, in the clothes she told me she was going to wear, we told each other what we were going to be wearing for the one who saw the other first. I thought I'd try to make a good first impression. During our conversations over messages, she told me she liked guys who were assertive and took control. So bearing that in mind, I went over and I slapped her butt to say hi. It was dumb, I know, but I thought she'd like it. And then she turned around and my F-up was discovered because it wasn't my date. It was a completely different woman. Her shock turned to anger and my confused face was turned into a pained face when she punched me in the face. The word face was used a lot there. She was shouting for a guy who came running out, who I presume was her boyfriend and brother, etc., who wanted to fight me, but I was trying and failing to explain that it was the wrong girl, and during this commotion my date came out from being inside and made light of the situation by confirming she was the intended target of the butt slap. I learned a valuable lesson that day, which I should have never had to learn in the first place. But it all worked out in the end. My date found the funny side of it, and the girl who had her butt slapped and the guy with her begrudgingly accepted my apology. Okay, there's some comments on this one. Ooh, I just clicked on that by mistake. Someone said, dude, slapping someone's butt for a first impression is risky as hell, even if it was the right person. And I completely agree. Like, that's a definite no-go. That's not what to do. that's how you're gonna get done for sexual assault charges. So yeah, that's a big F up. Okay, this one is by Socks with Stipes, not stripes, and it's today I effed up by thinking I still possessed youthful agility. On my run this morning, I came across a sawhorse that has been on my route for a little over a week now. Every other time I've gone running, I've just run around it. This time, however, I was feeling good and wanted to jump it. As someone who ran the hurdles in high school, I felt confident that I would be able to do so. I was not. Evidently, my muscles and tendons are not as springy as they were when I was 18, and I caught my back foot as I was going over it. This caused me to stumble and ultimately faceplant into a nearby lamppost. Now I'm sitting here with ice over a golf ball that's growing over my eye, and I have an important work presentation in 24 hours. Not my finest moment. They also included a picture of the eye, which I'm not going to add. If you do want to see that, you can click the link in the description and check that out yourself. The next one is by tatted_family_man. It is titled, Today I effed up by going at it with my wife in our backyard. My wife's son and I moved into my grandma's house a couple months ago. After my grandma passed away, we hate the state it's in, but we've really enjoyed having our own house. My wife and I have taken the opportunity to make love in our backyard twice now. The first time it was awesome and went off without a hitch, so obviously we were super keen to try it again. While our son was at school today and we were both home, we decided to go for it again. The last time we made love in our yard, my wife was on the bottom and had a towel just under her to make sure she stayed clean. This time I was on the bottom and she rode me, and I didn't bother putting a towel under my butt or anything. So after things had gotten started, I felt something really sting and burn on my butt. I thought it was a piece of gravel or maybe a thorn or a nettle or something, and I just tried to ignore it. But then I felt some more pretty intense burning/stinging pains in quick succession in places where I really didn't want them, and my wife felt one on her knee. Obviously, we got up after that, and my wife saw 2 fire ants on my butt, so with that and how bad things burned, I think we were both bitten by fire ants. That doesn't sound very fun. This one is by Cferg296 and it's titled, Today I effed up by having edibles on an empty stomach. For the most part of my life, I avoided weed like the plague. About a year ago, my now ex-girlfriend introduced me to edibles and I thought it was fun, so I started doing them. Yes, it's legal in my state. Anyway, fast forward to yesterday and I had an incident that is telling me I need to quit, or at the very least slow down how often I take them. I work evenings and usually don't get home till midnight. I will usually stay up till 4 in the morning and then wake up at noon, have an hour to eat and get dressed, and get to work at 2. Well, yesterday I overslept and didn't wake up till 1. I had enough time for a shower and drive to work. Yesterday was an especially busy day, so despite bringing my lunch with me, I did not have time to eat it. Work has a little market, so I was able to buy a bag of chips, but that's all I was able to eat the whole shift. Things were so bad at work that day that I was stuck there till 2 in the morning. Anyway, when I got home, I was so stressed that I immediately tossed a 50 milligram edible in my mouth and started to make was off about 30 minutes in, as this one was hitting a lot harder and a lot faster than usual. I then scarfed my dinner down and then sat at my computer to play video games for a couple hours. Then it hit. The top of my head started to hurt. I've never gotten a headache before while doing edibles, so this was starting to make me worry. It started to spread throughout my head and hurting more and more. Keep in mind, I still hadn't considered that having an empty stomach was causing issues, so I didn't know what it could be. I then started to get paranoid that the dosage I take and the frequency that I take them may be causing health issues, so I googled bad headache while high. What did I discover? Something called the thunderclap, which is potentially a life-threatening condition. I then started to get more worried and started paying attention more and more to my symptoms. It was getting harder to breathe, my pulse was pounding really hard, and I was getting a little disorientated. I then came to the conclusion that my life was in danger and I needed to get to a hospital. I ran to wake up my grandparents. We live with each other for financial reasons. They are aware I do edibles and were stoners themselves in their day, so they didn't have a problem with me doing them. I woke them up and explained I took an edible and wasn't feeling good. They told me to sit in the recliner in the living room and they will be out in a minute. I, thinking that I was probably going to die that night, so I took out my phone and sent a few messages. The first was to my ex-girlfriend. We broke up on good terms and still talk often. I still have feelings for her. I sent her a "if I don't make it" message and told her I love her and a bunch of other sappy shit. Then I sent a message to my boss, essentially cussing both her and my company out. Hey, I thought I was going to die. Anyway, eventually my grandparents came out to check on me. I assumed they had called the ambulance and that's what was taking them a minute. It wasn't. They were just putting clothes on. They gave me water and sat me back. They used something to take my blood pressure and everything, and discovered that it was high but not dangerous. My breathing was still out of control though. They just calmed me down and told me to breathe in and out with deep breaths, and after about 10 minutes my breathing became more normal. They asked me how much I had to eat that day. I told them, and it just made them roll their eyes and shake their head. They had me lay down and said to rest, so I did. I was so stoned I kept saying, "When is the ambulance going to be here?" but couldn't understand their answers. Eventually I fell asleep. Anyway, then came around noon when I woke up feeling more or less normal. Just a little groggy, which is pretty normal for me when I wake up after an edible night. My grandmother was in the room. I asked her, "Wait, I'm not at the hospital." She said no, and that without enough food it was hitting harder than it should have, which was what was causing the headache. We talked more about the events during the night, and I came to the conclusion that the other symptoms are caused by me panicking. When I read the thing about a thunderclap headache, it got in my head, and that's what I might have. And it caused me to panic, which caused a really bad anxiety attack, which caused the rest of my symptoms from the night before. A lot of this is written badly, so I'm trying to piece it together. I then got very relieved until I checked my phone, seeing multiple messages from both my ex-girlfriend and my boss and my boss's boss. So here I am now, realizing that I should probably not do edibles anymore while desperately trying to not get fired. That sounds like a pretty bad time. Googling the symptoms was definitely a bad idea. It's always a bad idea. I always cause myself to panic when I Google my symptoms about anything. I have really bad health anxiety. Okay, the next one is by Not One for Lies, and it's titled, "Today I effed up by not tightening my tongue piercing well enough." ghost, but it still makes me want to crawl in a hole and die regardless. Went on a first date with this gentleman to this park I love. People walk their dogs there and it has a gorgeous path right by the river. It's the best place ever. I had invited this guy, we'll call him Ted, that I had been quite interested in, to go for a walk with me at said park. He happily agreed and I met him there. When I got out of my car to greet him, he told me he'd brought snacks so we could eat and talk in his car after the walk. Sweet, I thought to myself. Boy, was I wrong. We did a few laps around and said hi to a few dogs that were being walked, and all was going well. Too well. We get back to Ted's expensive car and I hop into the passenger seat. It's important I mention the vehicle he drives is expensive. It's upwards of 100 grand. This is pertinent information for later. So I'm eating the delicious snacks set out before me, and all of a sudden I feel something strange in my mouth. A round, hard ball of plastic. I knew immediately what had happened. My tongue ball had fallen out. Now normally this wouldn't be a huge deal. I would simply put the ball back on the bar and go about with my day. This was not so simple. I was sweating profusely from nerves and had just got my nails done so the damn ball would not stay between my fingers. It just kept slipping out and falling. I was using his tiny passenger mirror to try and put the damn ball back in, but after 10 minutes straight of me struggling, he offered to help. He did not have gloves. I, against my better judgment, agreed. He grabbed my tongue with absolute mighty force and yanked it out of my mouth. This hurt and also made me drool. So for 5 minutes while he attempted to put the ball back on the bar, I was drooling buckets on his expensive car seats. My DNA now imprinted, probably permanently, in his vehicle. My tongue kept having involuntary spasms from how he was holding it, so he had to keep having to move my tongue closer to his face to try and get the ball on the bar. By the end of this whole ordeal, I had a small pool of spit on the seat below, and also covering his hand. I wanted to die. He assured me it was no big deal as he cleaned my spit pool up from the seat and his hand, and after a few awkward minutes we both decided to leave. Edit to add. Update 3 hours later. He blocked me. My visceral pool of spit was too much for him. That is definitely super awkward. I understand the struggle though. Especially like having sweaty hands and nails done trying to put a ball back on a piece, and that is just, oh my god, that's like a nightmare. It's bad enough. Okay, this next one is by Digital, titled Today I Effed Up. I made a joke at someone getting actively mugged. Taking my jumper off is far too hot. Okay. A few months ago, I was sitting on my local boat, enjoying the last of the good weather with my fiance and daughter before the rain and wind beat the hell out of the coast. We were partaking in our favourite free pastime of people watching, as there is a trail lining the coast that is frequented by tourists. Nothing abnormal was happening that day as we burned cigarettes and enjoyed the shaded bench. Just some local teenagers bumping hip-hop from 2006 in the drainage ditch near a bridge on the trail, and the usual mix of dogs and strollers passing by. Then a man in a t-shirt, shorts and sunglasses goes jogging by, a backpack slung over his shoulder but none too haphazardly. It looked like there was just some dude on a jog, which wasn't uncommon for the time of year. He fit the scene. A few moments later, a woman in jogging leggings and a hoodie passes by, in what would appear to be almost a playful pursuit. She seemed to be jogging in slow motion rather than in an all-out sprint. I called out a joke that she should really catch up to the other guy because he seems to have stolen her backpack. She did a double take and looked at me with a quizzical glance, and then continued on. I made the comment to my fiancé that I thought it looked like her boyfriend and 10 minutes into us resuming our bull session, we heard a cop flashing a siren in a way to indicate that he needed people to get out of the way. We looked down the trail and up the bridge that connected the trail to the wharf and see a squad car had pulled up and had 2 officers out, and unscrewing the metal divider pole that prevents car traffic but allows pedestrians. We got up from our bench and slowly walked in the direction of the officers, listening to them chat to other people in the vicinity. Apparently a woman had her backpack stolen on the wharf, and the suspect in question fit the description of the man who I had seen initially. My heart sank. I was the dick who couldn't keep their peanut allergy. ADH having the apple shot, and the joke I made was the actual reality. I approached the officers and explained where I had seen them last and provided a description of both people who were jogging, and then left the area. I have no idea what happened with their stuff, or the guy who stole it. The embarrassment and shame of me shouting at someone who could have potentially been losing their life has kept me from blurting out like that so far since. That really sucks. Someone said in the comments she probably thinks the universe was mocking her. Yeah, that really does suck, but it's not your fault. You made a joke without knowing the situation. This one's by Redman00100 and it's titled "Today I effed up by trying to high-five a cop who had just flipped off." This happened quite a while ago. But I was reminded of the incident while recounting college shenanigans with some friends. Let's set the stage. About 16 years ago, my dumbass 19-year-old self was driving to a college party on the highway, about an hour from where I lived. I was fairly nervous as a driver, but I also didn't want to be late to this party. I was already at least an hour late. It's night time, the speed limit is 65. On the 2-lane highway I was on, and the cars in the right lane were going no more than 60 due to a slow-moving cargo truck ahead. So of course I switched lanes to pass. I steadily accelerated up to about 74, really not that fast but significantly faster than the cars I was passing. I see a pair of headlights in the rear view rapidly approaching me from behind. My guess was the car was going at least 90. It felt like it was riding my ass within a few seconds of noticing it there, and over the next 10 seconds it flashed its high beams about 4 or 5 times trying to get me to move over. As soon as I was past the truck, I immediately moved over to let it pass. That would have been where the story ended if I had a shred of impulse control. So let me remind you again, I was a dumbass 19-year-old, overly pissed that this car behind me was so impatient. Just after switching lanes, I immediately rolled down my window and thrust my entire left arm out the window, middle finger extended emphatically. Based on the title, I think you probably know what came next. As it moved past me on my left, I made direct eye contact with the officer in the driver's seat, middle finger still raised directly at his face. Another reminder, it was dark. I had no idea it was a cop car when my brain decided to hijack my hand. The second the guy processed what had just happened, he slammed on his brakes, flipped his lights on and swerved to the right, directly behind me. As I quickly pulled over to a full stop, the only thing I remember was thinking how profoundly stupid that was, and how potent the instant sense of regret was. When I stopped, I lightly slammed my forehead against the steering wheel, and just before I lifted it, I heard his door slam, and noticed him charging towards my door. I kept both hands on the wheel. Car turned off, windows still rolled down. When he got to my window, he didn't bend over to see into my car. Just jutted his hand in through the window. His palm was facing upwards towards me in a typical high-five gesture. Although now that I think about it, it would technically be more of a low five, since in order to slap his hand, my arm would have there's not a single alternate universe in which his gesture was intended to invite a high five. I guess my sense of rationality was on hiatus that day, because despite any and every indicator pointing to him wanting my license and registration, my brain decided to come to the insane conclusion that he was actually somehow impressed and wanted to celebrate with a high five. Surprise, surprise, he in fact very much did not want a high five. I went for it, and then just before he would have made contact, he yanked his hand back. I don't want your hand. License and registration now, he said. I think this was verbatim, but I may be paraphrasing. Me, nervously stumbling over my words. Oh yeah, of course, I'm really sorry. I didn't realise it was an officer behind me. I'm an idiot. This was 100% verbatim as I nervously shuffled through the glove box to find my registration. Already had my license in hand. He snatched them out of my hand and briskly walked back to his car. I proceeded to lay my head back on the steering wheel, still in disbelief at my own stupidity. Now I don't know exactly how much time passed because of my state of mind, but my estimate is no more than 2 to 3 minutes. I heard his door slam, so I picked my head up and saw him storm back over, my license and registration in hand. He reached my window, and I'm not exaggerating when I say he threw them both directly in my face. Not tossed, lobbed, or dropped, he threw them into my face. At the same time, he said, "Grow the fuck up, kid," and stormed back to his car, slammed his door again, and peeled out. I wanted to apologise again, or respond in some way, but I was still in shock. I gathered my license and registration and looked around my car for a ticket, but was pretty sure there wasn't one of the objects he struck me in the face. I made it to the party with a highly entertaining story that I could barely believe myself, which even partially explained my tardiness and amused all who heard it. I found out later that flipping off a cop is definitely not illegal, and since he was driving so insanely fast, maybe he didn't have his LiDAR on the car. LiDAR? What is that? Is that the lights? I don't know, I know nothing about cars. Didn't have his LiDAR on to gauge my actual speed for a speeding ticket. He was probably also just in a hurry to get somewhere, maybe the end of his shift or a donut date. In any case, I feel pretty lucky to have come away from this with no real regret. Negative repercussions other than being like 10 minutes late to a party that I would have otherwise been late. That's crazy. I would feel so embarrassed at that, but also like, why did the cop act like a big child? I understand it's not nice or whatever, but surely the cop should have a bit more like emotional regulation than that. Like, oh my god. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Okay. Okay, let's do one or two more. I would like to do more, but I've only just gotten better from being sick for almost 2 weeks, so I'm still feeling pretty like low energy and stuff like that, so the rest of the posts that I've saved to read today, I'll read in another video. This one's by Yopper STD, and it's titled, "Today I effed up by forgetting I clogged the toilet. I have no one to blame but myself here. I, 38 male, started the morning like any other. Big cup of coffee while making my daughter's 4 and 7 breakfast. Said cup of coffee hit and wound up clogging the toilet. Right as I was about to deal with that, my daughter started screaming. They have a goldfish they call Goldie, and it was obviously dying. This was their first pet, and we had told them if they wanted to show that they can take care of it. Oh, no, sorry. This was their first pet, and we had told them we wanted them to show they can take care of it before they got something bigger, like a cat. Goldie died, and my daughters were crying terribly." Sorry, there's so many cars and trucks going down my road today, even though it's a tiny road, and I don't understand why, but it's actually, like, it's really annoying me. suggested we give the goldfish a proper funeral. 30-minute ceremony for the fish, and we were ready to send it to the great beyond from our toilet. My toilet no longer looked like it was clogged and was drained, so in Goldie went and I flushed the toilet. The toilet, unfortunately, was still very much clogged. Goldie was not sent to the great beyond. Instead, the bowl was suddenly filled with shit and brown water again. Panicked, I tried flushing it again, but made it worse with another bowl. And the bowl almost overflowed. My daughters were screaming, my wife failing to comfort them, and me trying to plunge the toilet with a dead fish covered in shit. Eventually got the toilet plunged and it all flushed, but the damage was done. They go between stone silence and crying about Goldie and asked if that would stop him from going on to fish heaven. Oh man, that's rough. Oh, I would feel like the worst father of the year. That's really, really tough. But first of all, R.I.P. Goldie, you will be missed. That is really upsetting. I have fish, and I would be very sad if my fish died. I love them. I love just sitting and watching them, truly. I know, like, a lot of people would be like, you don't really just sit there and watch them. That must be boring, but honestly, I sit in front of the tank and I just watch them, like, swim around and, like, interact, and I don't know, I find it really peaceful. I enjoy it a lot, so R.I.P. Goldie. What a sad funeral. Yeah, that's tough. It's really funny though. It's really funny as an adult. But I highly doubt the children will see the humour in that until they're much, much older. But I bet the parents had a little giggle to each other when they went to bed or something, because that is pretty funny. That is gonna be all for today. I still have like half of the stories that I saved for this video, so I will eventually do another video reading from this Reddit thread, and I'll use those ones. And then if you guys let me know in the comments if you like this, if you guys let me know in the comments if you like this series, I will do some more of it. Don't worry, I'm not stopping